whoever enters into or upon property in the possession of another. Already somebody enter or in the property upon property in the possession of another with intent to commit an offense. The intention is to commit an offense or with intent to intimidate somebody, commit an offense, intimidate, insult or annoy to whom? The person who is in possession of that property. Or having lawfully entered into or upon such property. He has already lawfully entered into property or upon that property. Unlawfully remains there with intent thereby to intimidate. And having lawfully entered into or upon, two prepositions are into or upon such property, unlawfully remains there with intent thereby to intimidate. He remains in that property with intent to intimidate, insult or annoy any such person who is in the possession of that property, or with intent to commit an offense is said to commit criminal trespass. So you should understand what is criminal trespass. Trespass normally means entering into the property of another. When somebody enters into the property of another or enters upon the property of another, or for what is that? The purpose is, with intention is to commit an offense or to intimidate, insult or annoy the possessor of that property, who is in possession of that property, or having lawfully entered into that property or upon such property, unlawfully remains there. Unlawfully remains there. Why? With an intention thereby to insult, annoy or intimidate any such person. Such person the possessor of that, or with intent to commit an offense, is said to commit criminal trespass. Now 442 says house trespass. For house trespass, there will be a criminal trespass into a house. Whoever commits criminal trespass by entering into or remaining in any building, tent or vessel. House includes also building, tent, vessel. So what it says? Whoever commits criminal trespass, again commits criminal trespass, enters into the property, enters into or upon property of another with intention to commit an offense, intimidate, insult or annoy the possessor of such property. So that's why whoever commits criminal trespass by entering into or remaining in any building, tent or vessel that is used as a human dwelling, or any building used as a place of worship, used as a human dwelling, place of worship, or as a place for the custody of property, enters into the house. Whoever commits criminal trespass into a house, building, vessel, which is used as human dwelling, or for which is used for worship, place of worship, or which is used for place of custody of the property, is said to commit house trespass. The introduction of any part of the criminal trespasser's body is entering sufficient to constitute house trespass. The explanation provides that the introduction of any part of the criminal trespasser's body, that doesn't mean that the entire body will enter into the house. Introduction of any part of the body of the criminal trespass into that house, that will be also treated as house trespass. So you should understand what is criminal trespass and what is house trespass. In every house trespass, first there will be criminal trespass, either to commit an offense, entering into the property, or to intimidate, insult, or annoy any such person, the possessor of that property, or having lawfully entered, remains there unlawfully with intention to intimidate, insult, annoy such person, or commit any such person. That is criminal trespass. So whoever commits criminal trespass by entering into a house, house doesn't mean only the human dwelling, but it also includes vessel or tent, which is used as human dwelling or as a place of worship, as a place for custody of property, then that will be treated as house trespass. The entry of any part of the body, criminal trespass of body, is sufficient to constitute the offense of house trespass. Now, lurking house trespass. Lurking, concealing somebody, lurking house trespass. Sometimes 443 says, whoever commits house trespass, having taken precaution to conceal such house trespass, a person commits house trespass, having taken precaution to conceal such house trespass from some person who has the right to exclude or eject the trespasser from the building, tent or vessel, which is the subject of the trespass, is said to commit lurking house trespass. Is somebody, what is definition of house trespass? Whoever commits house trespass, first there is a house trespass, having taken precaution to conceal such house trespass from the house trespass from the building, tent or vessel, who is subject to the said trespass from the person who has the right to exclude or eject that person from that house, tent or vessel. So first there is a house trespass and precaution has been taken. Suppose in the dead hour of the night, somebody enters into the house. You have taken precaution that you will conceal that house trespass from the person who had a right to exclude that trespasser or eject that trespasser from that building or vessel. That is called lurking house trespass. Only lurking house trespass, there will be a house trespass, but the trespasser has taken precaution that the house trespass will be concealed. From whom? From the person who had a right to eject that trespass from that building, tent or house, or who had a right to exclude that person or eject that person from that tent, house or building. Now, lurking house trespass by night. Whoever commits lurking house trespass after sunset and before sunlight is said to commit lurking house trespass by night. So, whoever commits lurking, first there will be lurking also after sunset and before sun. That will be true. That is called lurking house trespass by night. Now, house breaking, it is very important provision, and sometimes it is very difficult to remember all the entire definition. But you should understand house breaking. House breaking, that in any of the that 6 ways, if house trespass is committed. House breaking, house trespass is effected in any of these 6 ways as mentioned in section 445. What section? A person is said to commit house breaking who commits house trespass. Who commits house trespass if he effects his entrance into the house or any part of it in any of these 6 ways hereinafter described. So house breaking doesn't mean that breaking somebody's house. House breaking means who commits house trespass, first enter into the house, which that is a criminal trespass. And again that criminal trespass is into the house, building the tent. So that will be treated as then house breaking when he enters, the trespasser enters into that house in any part of the house, not into the entire house or any part of the house. Any of the 6 ways hereinafter described. Or if he being in the house, or suppose already he has entered into the house, or any part of the house, he is being in the house or any part of it for the purpose of committing an offense. Suppose a person was already entered in is in the house or is either in part of the house for the purpose of committing an offense or having committed an offense. After committing an offense, then he quits the house or any part of any of these 6 ways, even quitting the house in any of these 6 ways, or having committed an offense. So it for the purpose of committing or having committed an offense. Suppose if a person after committing an offense inside the house, in the house, he quit the house or any part of it in any of such 6 ways, that is to say 6 ways. First you should understand one by one. A person is said to commit housebreaking. Housebreaking is committed. Then who commits house trespass? Housebreaking is that who commits house trespass. If he effects his entrance into the house, if he enters into the entrance into the house or any part of that house in any of these 6 ways herein after mentioned, as mentioned in section 445, or having committed an offense, already has committed an offense therein. Having committed an offense therein means what? In a house. Having committed an offense in a house after committing offense after house trespass. Having committed an offense after house trespass, he quit the house or any part of it. Having committed an offense after committing house trespass, he quit the house or any part of it in 6 ways, that is to say, first, if he enters or quits through a passage made by himself, first, he enters into the house, or after committing house trespass, he commits an offense and quits that house, enters or quits the house through a passage made by himself. He himself made a passage. Or by any abettor of the house trespass. Either he enters into that house or quits that house by making a passage, through a passage made by himself or by abettor of the house trespass. House trespasser in order to the committing of the house trespasser. Then second, if he enters or quits through any passage not intended by any person other than himself. Second, if he enters into the house or quits that house through a passage made by himself or by an abettor or by any abettor of the house trespasser in order to the committing of the house trespass. Second, if he enters or quits the house through any passage not intended by any person other than himself, he quits or enters into the house through a passage not intended by himself other than himself or an abettor of the offense. It's called not intended for human entrance. Not intended by himself or abettor of the offense or human entrance, or through any passage to which he has obtained access by scaling or climbing over any wall or building. Secondly, there are 2 ways. He enters into the house or quits the house through a passage not intended by any other person, not intended by any other human being to enter except by himself or the abettor. Then that will be treated as housebreaking. Or if he enters or quits that house through a passage to which he has obtained access, to a passage to which he has obtained access, through that passage to which he obtained access by climbing or scaling over any wall or building. Suppose a trespasser climbed the wall, then through a skylight, he entered into house. That will be treated as housebreaking. Why? Because he entered into house through any passage to which he has obtained, through the passage which he obtained access by scaling or climbing a wall or building. This is second. Thirdly, if he enters or quits through any passage which he or any abettor of the house trespasser has opened in order to committing of the house trespass. Third is that if he enters or quits that house through a passage, through any passage which he or any other person, house trespasser has operated, he has opened in order to committing of the house trespass. If he has opened a passage, or the arbiter of the house trespass, he opened a passage, to that passage he entered or quit that house. By any means by which that passage was not intended by the occupier of the house to be opened. Huh? You opened a passage to which the occupier of the house has not intended to open. Fourthly, if he enters or quits by opening any lock in order to the committing of the house trespass, that is housebreaking. Suppose a lock is there, somebody broke the lock and entered into the house for committing an offense or to cause insult, intimidate or annoy somebody. That is housebreaking. By breaking the lock if somebody enters, or in order to the quitting of the house after a house trespass. Suppose after a house trespass has been committed, enter somebody's house was open. Thereafter, he broke open a lock and quit the house. That will also be treated as housebreaking. Then fifthly, if he effects his entrance or departure by using criminal force, sometimes you forget it. He enters, suppose criminal force, that is because he push somebody and that way enter. That is treated as housebreaking. Suppose X entered into the house of Y by giving a push to him and making a fall on the ground, thereafter he entered into the house. That will also be treated as housebreaking because this fifth way. If he effects his entrance or departure, if he already in his house, then they pull somebody using criminal force, quit the house. That will also be treated as housebreaking. If he enters or quits if he effects his entrance or departure by using criminal force or committing an assault, threatening with somebody's injury, or by threatening any person with assault, entering somebody's house, threatening with somebody to injury by assault. Assault is the immediate force will be, or by use of criminal force, if somebody enters or quits, that will also be treated as housebreaking. If a question comes, X, the house of Y was open. Y was standing at the door, of the house. X came and gave a push to Y and thereafter entered into the house. So that will be treated as the offensive housebreaking. That is, if he enters or if he effects his entrance or departure by using criminal force or committing an assault or by threatening any person with assault. If he enters or quits by any passage which he knows to have been fastened against such entrance or departure and to have been unfastened by himself or by an arbiter of the house trespass. Fastened means what? Which is attached. If he enters or quits by any passage which he knows to have been fastened against such entrance that has been fastened or departure, and to have been unfastened, he removed that window that he entered. So that is housebreaking. But if he enters or quits any passage which he knows to have been fastened means attack against such entrance or departure. Because if that has been fastened so that one cannot enter or one cannot depart from that house. With that house. And to have been unfastened by himself or by an arbiter of the house trespass. If he unfastens that window and thereby enters or quits, that will be treated as house trespass. Explanation. Any outhouse or building occupied with a house and between which any such house there is an immediate internal communication. Suppose there are outhouses. There are many houses at a particular house. There is also an outhouse. Any outhouse or building occupied with a house, that outhouse or building, it is also occupied with the house. And between which any such house there is an immediate internal communication is part of the house within the meaning of this section. There is an internal communication between two houses. That will also be treated as house. So now you should remember the housebreaking definition is sometimes creates a conflict. So near entry into a house to commit an offense, to ensure annoy or intimidate the person who is committing criminal trespass into a house, that is not sufficient. Entry of quit. Entry of quit is to remember what? A person is said to commit housebreaking, that is housebreaking. Who commits house trespass, if he effects his entrance into the house or any part of any of the 6 ways herein after yourself, or if being in the house, already in the house, or any part of it, any part of that house, for the purpose of committing an offense, already in the house or part of the house, for the purpose of committing an offense, or having committed an offense therein, or after committing an offense inside the house, he quit the house or any part of it, any of such 6 ways. Suppose there are some family members, one person, one guest had come. He remained slept. He slept in that house. But in the dead hour of night, he committed a murder and thereafter he broke the door or unfastened the window and went away. That will be treated as house. Already in the house, being in the house or any part of it, the person who is in the part of the house, initially that he had no intention to commit an offense, insult, annoy, or that is there. But lawfully he had entered into a human event, but thereafter he committed an offense. And he quit that offense in any of these 6, as mentioned in this section. That will also be treated as house. Lastly, at the cost of repetition, we should again know it. Entering or quitting through a passage made by himself or by an abettor of the house trespass in order to committing the house trespass. Then, if he enters or quit through any passage not intended by any other person except him by the abettor, that or by through any passage to which he has obtained access, or through if he enters into the house by through any passage by scaling or climbing any wall or building. Thirdly, if he enters or quits through any passage which he or any abettor of the house trespasser has opened in order to the committing of an house trespass by any means, by which that passage was not intended by the occupier of the house to be opened, the opening in a passage. Fourthly, if he enters or quits by opening any lock in order to the committing of the house trespass or in order of the quitting of the house after house trespass. Fifthly, if he effects his entrance or departure by using criminal force or committing an assault or by threatening any person with assault. Sixthly, if he enters or quits by any passage which is known to have been fastened against such entrance or departure and to have been unfastened by himself or by abettor of the house trespass. Expansion. In a outhouse or building occupied with a house and between which any such house there is an immediate internal communication is a part of the house. Illustration will make you clear. A commits house trespass by making a hole through the wall of Jake's house and putting his hand through the aperture. This is housebreaking. A commits house trespass by creeping into a ship at a porthole between decks. If in entering into a ship, that will also be treated as crippling. This is housebreaking. A commits house trespass by entering Jake's house through a window. This is housebreaking. A commits house trespass by entering Jake's house through the door, having opened the door which was fastened. This is housebreaking. Door was closed, he broke the door, entered. A commits house trespass by entering Jake's house through the door, having lifted a latch by putting a wire through a hole into the door. This is housebreaking. A finds the key of Jake's house door, which Jade had lost. Jade had lost the key. A finds the key. And commits house trespass by entering Jade's house, having opening the door with the key. This is housebreaking. Jade is standing in the house, in the doorway. A forces a passage by knocking Jade down and commits house trespass by entering into the house. This is housebreaking. Jade, the doorkeeper of Y, is standing in Y's doorway. A commits house trespass by entering the house, having deterred Jade from opposing him by threatening to beat him. This is housebreaking. Then you should know it. Housebreaking by night. Whoever commits housebreaking after sunset and before sunrise, that is housebreaking by night. Punishment for criminal trespass. Whoever commits criminal trespass, already criminal trespass I have enters into upon the property, that is 441 defines. So whoever commits criminal trespass shall be punished with imprisonment either disclosure for a term which may extend to three months or with fine which may extend to 500 rupees or 448. Punishment for house trespass. Whoever commits house trespass shall be punished with imprisonment either disclosure for a term which may extend to 1 year or with fine which may extend to 1,000 rupees or with 449. House trespass in order to commit offence punishable with death. Whoever commits house trespass in order to committing an offence punishable with death shall be punished with imprisonment for life for which rigorous imprisonment term not exceeding 10 years or with rigorous not exceeding 10 years and shall also be liable to fine. Now, this is section 451. House trespass in order to commit offence punishable with imprisonment. So whoever commits house trespass in order to committing an offence punishable with imprisonment shall be punished with imprisonment for either for a term which may extend to 2 years and shall also be liable to fine. And if the offence is intended to commit a theft, if theft offence, the term of imprisonment may be extended to 7 years. Now 452, house trespass after preparation for hurt, assault or wrongful restraint. So that is whoever commits house trespass having made preparation for causing hurt to any person or for assaulting any person or for wrongfully restraining any person, having made preparation, or for putting any person in fear of hurt or assault or wrongful restraint, shall be punished with imprisonment either for a term which may extend to 7 years and shall be liable to fine. 453, punishment for lurking house trespass or house. This is a serious type of offence. Whoever commits lurking house trespass or housebreaking shall be punished with imprisonment for a term which extends to 3 years and shall also be liable to fine. Lurking house trespass or housebreaking in order to commit offence punishable with imprisonment. That is, this is punishable with the offence intended to committed is theft. So here, whoever commits lurking house trespass, housebreaking in order to the committing an offence punishable with imprisonment shall be punished with imprisonment for the either for a term which may extend 3 years. And if the offence is to be committed theft, that is punishable with what? Imprisonment which may be extended to 10 years. 455, lurking house trespass or housebreaking after preparation for hurt, assault or wrongful restraint. Here the punishment is shall be punished with imprisonment either for a term which may extend to 10 years and shall be liable. This is 456. Punishment for lurking house trespass or housebreaking by night. Here the punishment is whoever commits lurking house trespass by night or housebreaking by night shall be punished with imprisonment either for a term which may extend to 3 years and shall be liable to fine. 457, lurking house trespass or housebreaking by night in order to commit offence punishable with imprisonment. There the punishment is may extend to 5 years, and with the offence is theft, that is extended up to 14 years. Then 458, lurking house trespass or housebreaking by night after preparation of hurt, assault. Similar, all these are there. This is also punishable with for a term which may extend to 14 years. Whoever commits lurking house trespass by night or housebreaking by night, having made preparation for causing hurt to any person, or for assaulting any person, then or for wrongfully restraining any person, that is punishable with this hurt or assault, wrongful restraint, either described for a term which may extend to 14 years. Now, grievous hurt caused while committing lurking house trespass. This provision says, while committing lurking house trespass, or whoever whilst committing lurking house trespass or housebreaking causes grievous hurt to any person, or attempts to cause death or grievous hurt to any person shall be punished with imprisonment for life or imprisonment to either destination for a term which makes them 10 years and shall be liable to fine. All persons jointly concerned in house trespass or housebreaking by night punishable where death or grievous hurt caused by one of them. This is also a vicarious liability. Sometimes you forget that section 460, what it says, if at the time of committing or lurking house trespass by night, at the time of committing lurking house trespass by or housebreaking by night, any person guilty of such offence shall voluntarily cause or attempt to cause death. If any of such persons causes death or attempt to cause death or grievous hurt to any person, every person jointly concerned in committing such lurking house trespass. This is like a 30. Every person who jointly concerned in committing such lurking house trespass by night or housebreaking by night shall be punished with imprisonment for life or with imprisonment of either disgrace for a term which may extend to 10 years and shall be liable. This is 460. 461. Dishonestly breaking containing property. Receptacle means that is cabin, that is whoever dishonestly or with intent to commit mischief, dishonestly with intent to mischief, breaks open or unfasten any closed receptacle, closed place. That is not a house, tent, building, etc., which contains or which is believed to contain property, shall be punished with imprisonment either duration for a term which extends 2 years or with fine. Now, this is 462. Punishment for same offence when committed by person entrusted with property. Breaking the receptacle by a person who is entrusted with property, custody of property. Whoever being entrusted with any closed receptacle. Receptacle may be a box, may be a cabin, or whoever being entrusted with any closed receptacle which contains or which he believes to contain property. Which contain property or which that person believes to contain property. Without having authority to open this dishonesty, without authority, or with intent to commit mischief, which breaks open or unfastens that receptacle, shall be punished with either discretion for a term which may extend 3 years or with fine or with. Thank you. In the next class, we will discuss the offence relating to document and to property marks. Thank you.